Chapter 34, Actions speak louder than words. Why should I let you profit off my house?
Since Ye Shuang was appointed, she walked directly from behind Fang Mo and said, Sister Qin, right? If you don't want to sell me this apartment, then the person who has everything to gain is only her. Ye Shuang pointed at the mistress who thought she could blend in. The mistress was surprised. She had been trying to find ways to bring down Miss Chen's anger level, hoping that Miss Chen would eventually let it go. Honestly, it wasn't uncommon for the mistress to team up with the husband to usurp the first wife's position, but that wasn't going to happen in the Chen household. Mrs. Chen came from a wealthy family, and while she couldn't do much to her husband, she was powerful enough to end the life of a C-list celebrity. If the place hadn't been surrounded by Mrs. Chen's men, she would have run away as soon as she had the chance. Therefore, the only thing she could do was to stay as quiet as possible to keep the spotlight away from herself. Alas! Miss Chen glanced at the teacher out of the corner of her eye. The latter froze as Miss Chen turned to look at Ye Shuang. She swept Ye Shuang with a suspicious look up and down before asking, "What do you mean by that?" "Miss Chen, I'm sure a person of your caliber will have a lot to deal with in her life. Once this incident calms down, I don't think you'll want to waste a lot of your time following the sales of this house." Ye Shuang smiled. "Even if you do, how can you be sure that the so-called buyer is not another part of the conspiracy? If that happens, at the end of the day, the apartment will still go back to its current owner." The husband instantly felt like cursing. Throughout the commotion, his mistress had given a commendable performance. She hadn't complained or countered Mrs. Chen's claims. She had simply stood there quietly and let the blows fall on her. Originally, the husband's plan had indeed been to wait until Mrs. Chen's fire stopped burning and find a friend to buy his wife's apartment and return it to the mistress as a price for acting so meekly today. Who would have thought that this woman who had come with Fang Mo would ruin his devious plan? Mrs. Chen turned her head to wink at her husband. She knew her husband's personality very well, and the man's face might as well have read, "I got caught." She got angry and said to him, "Do you think you can still get me?" Mr. Chen, of course, denied it instantly. He confidently exclaimed, "Of course not. She's just making up stories." Naturally, he couldn't admit that he had planned just that. Ye Shuang added, "Actions speak louder than words. The best method to prove your innocence is to sell me the apartment to get rid of you." Mr. Chen's eyes were practically burning as he imagined tearing Ye Shuang into pieces. Fang Mo took a silent step to protect Ye Shuang. If something really happened to Ye Shuang, he didn't know how he would respond to his friend. Miss Chen scoffed. Even if she didn't trust Mr. Chen, it didn't mean that she implicitly trusted Ye Shuang. "Why should I sell it to you?" "Why not? We both stand to gain from this transaction." Ye Shuang tried to plead her case. Rich people didn't care about small change. If Mrs. Chen wanted to get rid of this apartment as soon as possible, Ye Shuang had to make sure she got a profit from it. "Even if I'm going to pay it off in installments, going to the bank will take time. As long as Sister Chen gives me an appropriate price, I'll pay the installments on time every month." "Installments?" Mrs. Chen gasped in surprise as she gave Fang Mo a meaningful look. Fang Mo remained silent. He had understood the meaning of that rather interesting look. Even Ye Shuang understood this. Fang Mo was silent for half a minute before he explained, "Miss Yi is actually my friend's fiancée. She has no relation to the people around me." Knowing that Ye Shuang was very appreciative of this opportunity, Fang Mo gave her a hand. "After all, Mrs. Chen, you are going to sell this apartment. Instead of waiting for the realtor to find a buyer, why don't you give me the face and sell it to my friend? It's convenient for you and it can help Miss Yi save some expenses." Miss Chen was slowly convinced. Fang Mo had stated everything clearly, so the woman's identity was probably not as complicated as she thought. After all, the girl pointed out her despicable husband's ploy. She didn't have to if she was there to side with Mr. Chen. Ye Shuang added, "That's right, Sister Chen. Yes, I'm enjoying your inconvenience, but you want this to be over as soon as possible, don't you? We both stand to gain from this arrangement. Mr. Chen finally lost his patience. Ignoring the fact that his wife was just standing there, he wouldn't be able to sleep that night if he didn't say something to this annoying woman. Why should I let you enjoy my house? Your house or your little shrew's house? Ye Shuang didn't care about making an enemy. After all, it was obvious that she had to find a side to lean towards, and of course, she aligned herself with Miss Chen. This was the push Mrs. Chen needed. Chen He, you shut up. Come with me, I'll sell you this house, we'll go to the bank right away. Fong Mo sighed in relief. This result was not bad. At least he had extricated himself safely from the conflict, and Mrs. Chen didn't seem to take offense at him. Then, he noticed that Ye Shuang had been staring at him with his wide eyes. What's wrong? Fong Mo whispered. Ye Shuang laughed awkwardly. Brother Fong, we haven't been paid for the advertisement yet. In other words, she couldn't produce the down payment. I mean, can you pay me in advance? Just as Ye Shuang was pleading with Fong Mo, the mistress finally lost her cool to glare at Chen He. Mr. Chen was also at his wit's end. He took an angry step forward and shouted, not at Miss Chen but at Ye Shuang, you. Before he finished, his voice was swallowed by a loud scream.
Chapter 35, A Flowerpot. Xiao Mo and Ye Shuang's actions at the crime scene were uncontained chaos.
Adultery. With the proliferation of knowledge, most people were already familiar with its typical occurrence. Among the possible actions at the scene were beating, scolding, and lashing. Among them, beating and scolding were single-target skills while hitting was an area of effect skill. Therefore, the group formed by Miss Chen naturally knew what to do. Thanks to the power of numbers, as they chased the shameful couple out of the house, Miss Chen's group members had already hit the objects inside the house. In this highly aggressive activity, uncontrolled chaos was expected due to the adrenaline rush. It was in the midst of this chaos that Mr. Chen and his mistress were dragged out into the street, with Miss Chen and her men screaming and cursing along the way, attracting the attention of a passerby. In any case, no one had noticed that just above everyone's head, sitting unsteadily on the balcony of the sinful apartment, was a flower pot. While they had ransacked the apartment earlier, someone had knocked over the pot, causing it to teeter precariously on the edge. The flower pot eventually lost its balance and fell from the third floor. The clay pot was filled with compacted soil. Combining its weight and the height of its fall, it could very well turn into a murder scene. Upon hearing the sound of the wind, the crowd unconsciously turned around to see a giant flower pot fall from the sky. It was then less than a meter away from Miss Chen and Mr. Chen. This meant that neither Miss Chen nor Mr. Chen could escape unscathed. Fong Mo's face darkened. If something bad happened to the Chen couple in front of his eyes, even if he was just an innocent bystander, he would be dragged into the ensuing trouble. If it was just an injury, if a life was lost, Fong Mo shuddered just thinking about the possible outcome. At that very moment, Fong Mo felt his eyes blur as a shadow appeared beside him. What happened next made Fong Mo feel as if he was dreaming. With incredible speed, Ye Shuang practically teleported to appear between Mr. Chen and Miss Chen. While everyone only saw part of the action, Ye Shuang grabbed Miss Chen's waist perfectly. Miss Chen felt someone's hand on her waist and the next second, she was lifted into the air. In the same motion, Ye Shuang extended her leg to push Mr. Chen away with a kick. She used her other leg to kick the ground, using the reaction force to jump a good distance back. This series of actions was as fluid as water. By the time the flower pot crashed with a thunderous sound, Miss Chen was already standing quite far away. The passers-by turned stupidly to Ye Shuang. They were looking at her as if they were staring at the world-saving Superman. Sister Chen, are you okay? Ye Shuang quickly helped her investor up, ignoring the flock of eyes on her. Fang Yimou glanced at Ye Shuang and suddenly felt that this young lady was a pretty good match for her friend. Miss Chen was still in shock. "Huh? Yes. I'm fine." Now, she fully believed that Ye Shuang was not someone's mistress. Who would dare to keep someone with this kind of kung fu master as a mistress? If one day the young woman found out that she had been lied to, she might end the man's life herself. The more Miss Chen thought about it, the more convinced she became. After regaining her balance, she glanced at her husband, who had also been rescued but was crumpled on the floor, and her mood couldn't be better. She happily patted Ye Shuang on his shoulder and easily promised, "You're not bad. Sister Chen will remember what you did for me today. To thank you for saving my life, I will offer you this apartment." After all, she would rather offer the house to someone than let it fall into the hands of her husband's mistress. With the martial artist holding down the fort, she'd like to see if the little shrew dared to cause trouble. Ye Shuang's eyes shone with unbridled joy. "Big sister, are you serious?" With the giant prize hanging in front of her, even the term of endearment had changed. Miss Chen nodded and waved her hand. "Sure, come on, let's go sign the papers now." At that moment, she suddenly thought of Fang Yimou. She glanced at him and breathed, "Xiao Mo, be thankful that you brought a virtuous friend this time." This meant that she was willing to overlook the offense of selling the house to her husband's mistress. Fang Yimou nodded her head wordlessly. Then Mrs. Chen turned around, followed by Ye Shuang, her tail turned upward like a happy feline. The crowd parted like the Red Sea for Moses, allowing the two women to pass. Even Mr. Chen, who was still on the ground, was too shocked to say anything to stop them.
Chapter 36, One of Us. Why didn't Zining's actions cause a ripple in Beijing?
Mrs. Chen's maiden name was Zining. Like many Chinese couples, she adopted her husband's surname after marriage. So, technically speaking, Ye Shuang could call her Sister An, not Sister Chen. In Beijing's high society, Sister An's name was quite remarkable. According to legend, Sister An had shown signs that she was not going to be a normal person since birth. To be precise, her crying at birth was so loud that even her grandparents, who were standing outside the delivery room, could hear her clearly. Based on the clarity and volume of the voice, they were sure he was an unruly little boy, but as Zining grew up, apart from the initial mistake of determining his gender, everything else went as decreed by Madame An. Her undisciplined nature was such that she did not allow anyone to influence her decisions. She lived her life by her own rules. A firm slap on the back would not change her decision. When she was in kindergarten, a fat man next to her slyly threw her carrot pieces into her lunchbox when the teacher wasn't looking because he didn't like them. Naturally, Zining picked up her lunchbox and spilled it on her head. When she was in elementary school, there was a common game called Line 3 to 8. It denied extreme closeness between children of the opposite sex. Those who violated the rules were to be punished. Zining accidentally crossed the line once, and to punish her, one of the boys pulled on her ponytail. That day, after the afternoon nap, everyone woke up to find that there were uneven holes on the boy's head. From the size and depth of the holes, it was obvious that the shaving had been done by an untrained hand. Other tragedies continued to occur throughout high school and college. The An family named her Zining in hopes that the meaning of the name would carry over to her and that she would learn to be calm and patient. Alas, it seems that this had the opposite effect, for like an Azura, Zining brought chaos into her life. Because of the influence of the An family and the fact that even though she was energetic, she had not committed any crimes, most people silently tolerated Zining's behavior, hoping that she could turn over a new leaf once she married into the Qin family. To be perfectly honest, it was not uncommon among social elites for the husband to keep a mistress. If it happened to another family, it probably wouldn't have made waves since, in the end, family harmony was more important than anything else. As long as the mistress did not show obvious attempts to replace the wife, there was nothing the wife could not tolerate by gritting her teeth. However, Zining did not want to suffer such humiliation. She understood that everything had a limit, but her understanding of the limit was different from others. Therefore, although she wouldn't file for divorce and turn her back on the Qin family, she had to end this extramarital affair before it took root. You want her to shut up and stay out of it? That's not possible. Since he dared to cheat on Zining, then he had to suffer Zining's wrath after she found out. Zining had a very good impression of Ye Shuang. Based only on her martial arts skill, she found herself liking Ye Shuang. A woman had to be able to hold half the house, not sneak in and break it from the inside. After completing the property transfer process, Zining grabbed Ye Shuang and insisted on taking her shopping by her side to thank her for saving his life. Her party followed her to have a celebratory feast later in the day for completing a perfect raid. Mr. Chen and the mistress didn't even dare to breathe while this was going on. Fong Mo watched fearfully as the group of girls filtered out of his sight. His friend's girlfriend was scary enough, but combined with the Qin family's tigress, he shivered at the thought. Alas, what could he do to stop her? Nothing, so the only thing he could do was to let it go. Since Ye Shuang had no responsibility for the rest of the day, she followed him. Her plan was to get some lunch out of it. You didn't have lunch. Zining was shocked when she heard Ye Shuang. Why did you come and join the party if you didn't even have lunch? We had all stuffed ourselves, knowing that the fight would require energy. Ye Shuang was speechless. I happened to run into Brother Fong when I was sending my boyfriend. I heard the situation on the phone, and since I was looking for a place to stay, I realized that I shouldn't miss this opportunity. I hope you don't mind me taking advantage of the situation. Of course I don't mind. Zining laughed generously. That's what we expect from a human being. In the end, someone is going to take advantage of the situation, and if they do, it might as well be you. Instead of letting a stranger have the satisfaction, I'd rather take advantage of one of my own people. Sister N is really nice. Again, we beat a lot of furniture. Zining thought about it and said, you will have to relay the flooring. Luckily, it happened so quickly, otherwise I would have called the construction company to dig the foundation themselves. Ye Shuang was speechless when she heard this. Scolding and shouting were common in the process of flushing out an extramarital affair, but this was the first time she had heard of construction workers being used in this way. Zining sighed regretfully, but soon her eyes lit up with an idea. However, maybe there is still hope. Didn't you save that bastard? To thank you for saving his life, it wouldn't be out of place for him to refurbish the house. Ye Shuang smiled in appreciation. Thinking about it, she realized that the other woman was right. Why shouldn't she enjoy it as much as she could? She had saved Mr. Chen's life, and what were a few pieces of furniture compared to a man's precious life? However, from what Sister N said, you gathered your people as soon as you heard the news. Ye Shuang was shocked at the recklessness of Zining's action. You didn't even double-check the sources. What if your source was a mistake? Zining rolled her eyes and explained, silly girl, the source is my own biological little brother, so how can the news be wrong? Ye Shuang nodded and chuckled to herself. At that moment, Zining's phone rang. When she picked it up, an old but powerful voice said agitatedly, Zining. Someone told me that you have created more trouble for your husband, Qin He. Ye Shuang lowered his head and quietly stepped back, trying to make himself as invisible as possible.